rapid, where after facing future GM, I had another very strong opponent, 1987 Fide, who currently does not actually have an ECL. He just seems to play in the NCL. His last one was 163 long play. So I say overall this guy's probably about 170 level player. And he opened with David Carpenter, and he opened with 193. And interestingly, I actually walked into an opening which he plays himself as black, because I thought a 193 player is not going to play the Leningrad Dutch, but because it's completely opposite to 193, because 193 is rather dull and positional, and Leningrad Dutch is very exciting and tactical. It's G6, G3, Bc5 Bdseven, so we both set up our theme kettles, and now I play F5. The reason I didn't play F5 on move 1 is in case he might do this gambit against me, the Lichtenstein gambit, which I find very uncomfortable to play against. Usually you have to give the pawn back as well, or you get hacked. So I did this move order. D4 was played, knight f6, c4, and we transposed to the main line. I know I played this very dodgy move. Well, this actual move isn't dodgy itself. You got 3 moves in this position. There's knight c6, there's queen e8, preparing to bring the queen to f7, and also supported an e5 advance, so white should stop that with d5. And then white's plans to play knight g5 to e6. The other move is to play c6, which is the move recommended in my Leningrad book by, I think it's Neil MacDonald's. And that's the move recommended, which blunts the G2 bishop. I'm prepared to play moves like knight d7, queen e8, and e5, because the idea of the Leningrad is to try and get an improved King's Indian, because you've not played, basically you've played knight f6, you've played f5 before knight f6. It's trying to get 2 moves up King's Indian. For example, after the move knight c6, if my opponent plays something casual like I don't know, e3, we play e5, and after d5, knight e7, this is actually a sort of King's Indian, 2 moves up. I mean, it's not as simple as that, because white's got other options like this, but this is supposed to be good for black. But my opponent knows his theory, mainly because he plays it with both colours and plays d5, which clamps down on the weak e6 square, which is black's main Achilles heel in the Leningrad Dutch. And now the main move is to play knight a5. But I play this very dodgy move, knight e5, which is a very aggressive tactical line. Well, I'm accepting some structural damage, and while a queenside pawn majority in return to try and hack white's king up. Now the main move is to play e4, and then you play f4, you sack the pawn, and then after takes, bishop takes, you can either play this to regain your pawn, but I don't think it's very good, or you can play this and start hacking. It's probably worth a video at some point. But he played queen b3, which is a sideline, and in fact I couldn't remember what he did at all. And I played king h8 just to get away with any potential tricks on diagonal. Rook came to d1, rook b8, bishop e3, after b6 he played a4, and white has got starting to get quite a large advantage, because I haven't got any typical counterplay, and he's going to play a5, rip open the a file and try and get my c7 point. In fact, after I played knight g4, he played bishop c5, which is a very nice move, of course, where the bishop is immune due to the pin-up rook. I move my bishop, and then the bishop comes back to a3, exerting pressure on the e7 point. I played e4, which is quite a good move to open my black bishop up and blunt white's light squared bishop. Now he played knight into b5. And now, as worried, his knight's going to come back to d4 and then into c6 or e6, because he's trying to exploit the weakness in the last move. But actually it's not that bad. Maybe I can just play a6 to kick it, knight d4, and then get on with my counterplay of queen e8. And if the knight comes in, then that's bad because I take this pawn actually. So actually this pawn's hanging. In fact, this pawn actually cannot be defended, although it seems that white's got enough compensation. But maybe after a6, yeah, queen e8 seems to win a pawn, unless you got bishop before. But it's quite slow actually, and I can play, maybe build up with queen f7. And instead of kicks my knight, go back to e5. This position's fine. But I panicked about the knight coming in. I completely panicked and gave my bishop up for the knight, and this move is absolutely horrific, because it's opened up the A file, and that A7 pawn is practically dropping off by force, as you're going to see. But also, one of my main attacking weapons is to remove White's bishop on G2, because that's the main piece around this king, and in fact that is the only piece around this king currently. But I can't get rid of it now. So I played Queen E8, and he played Bishop B4. So I first defended it, so it takes another move for him to win it. But I accepted after this move I'm not going to defend this pawn in the long run, because everything's going to pile up on the A file. So I went a bit crazy. I played G5 with the idea of swinging my queen across to H5 and playing F4 and trying and Bishop D4 maybe and trying to get something going. DA1. If this was long play, this is lost, but in rapid you've always got a chance because it's a fast time control, so it's easy to miss tactics and stuff like that. Queen H5. So I'm threatening. Now he said after the game that he thinks he could let me take him at an H2 check and just nab this pawn, but actually it's very bad because of this move, E3. And there's no move actually in this position. So because if we do that, we've got Queen takes G3 and go with mate that on F2, I think, or almost mate. So he has to play H3 first, which I saw, knight E5. So at least I'm going to get the E2 point, and then maybe I can get a knight into F3 and some, and maybe get a farm pawn. So actually, he should just play Queen back to C2 before taking my pawn, because I can't defend this pawn, and now I can't take the E2 point. And in fact, it's very hard to find an attack for black in this position, because if I play F4, I can take an E4. In fact, this is practically a bust. I've got like something like defend this pawn, and then he takes. There's nothing. It's G4, H4. Yeah, that's over. But he rushed and took, which lets him back into the game, because now I get this pawn. But I did find a nice move in this position. Bishop back to F1. Which stops my nasties of E3 because my queen gets kicked away. And now I was thinking for a while, should I throw this check in? It seems that I should do. I don't think it actually does anything. Of course, the king has to stay on the bishop, so he has to play King G2, and then I've got another check. And White has the option to either has to take a perpetual with king back, knight back, but I saw that he can just remove my knight, and I'll take it back. And then rook takes C7. I've seen this, but I've got that loses to Bishop D4, because after it's defended, we play F4, and in fact, White is completely lost because F3 and E3 just crushing threats as well as ripping up in the F file. So he grabs this pawn as well. We take here, and there's no defense. So actually, the C7 point is removed. White has to actually bring his queen back into the defense. But I'm not actually a pawn down now, so I can take. After F takes, defend this pawn, and the endgame is very dynamic and probably equal actually, but unclear. But I went a bit crazy and just brought my queen back, and now he grabbed this pawn as well, attacking the rook. I looked at sacking the rook, but it's not worked, so I threw the check in this position. And then I moved the rook to G8, trying to hope I can get something going down the G file. He takes another pawn, so now I am 2 pawns behind. And he has the bishop pair. And the point is I looked at this position for ages and just couldn't figure out a way to break through. Because that bishop can't get with that bishop. I looked at F4. G4. Well actually I thought I gave up after G4, because after Queen H4 I couldn't find anything after something like... In fact, the only move for White actually is Queen D1 in this position. But even this, they have to find a move like Rook A8, or play H5. I can maybe try H5 and try and rip open the king side. So he's practically got a take and then a take. But then his king slots back on H1. And if G4, then it's like Rook C6, but it's actually unclear this. It's very complicated, this is a rapid game, this position. I played Bc5, which attacks the rook. Rook C6, which looks like a blunder, but I did play knight D4, but actually I can never really take the rook, because he's got 2 connected passed pawns back to queen. Now there's a different reason why I did it. And now he had to find Queen E3, which just seems to win. because first of all, if I grab the rook, then I can't. I've had to castle these pawns from queening. If I play knight c2, we have queen back to c1, and the check is actually harmless, but actually probably simpler still is queen back to e2, and that forces the queens off. But he played queen a3, and now actually f4 was a good shot, so counterplay. And if g4, chucking f3 check, king goes back, and then, but then even again, there's nothing in this position really. I have to play queen back to f7, and he's got bishop d6, swapping all my attacking pieces off. But after knight c2, I had a sort of a little hallucination in this position. Well, actually, when I played when I played this, I thought you had to take a repetition or something with queen b3 or something, and I thought I've got some checks perhaps. But actually, in this position, there's an absolute stunning move for white in this position. Absolutely beautiful. That I think anyone below title player strength wouldn't even struggle to spy a long play game. It's absolutely beautiful, this move. The white has to win. And my opponent, by the way, had less than a minute at this point, plus the increments, which didn't help. But if you can spot this beautiful move now, then you are a tactical genius. White to play and win. Well, first of all, there's an easy win actually. You just bring the queen back to b3, and if I go now back to d4, then you can play queen into e3. But in this position, the move queen d6 is completely terminal. Because if the queen is taken, then we have a mate. Bishop f6, rook g7, and rook c8 check is going to mate me. And now the problem is the queen. If I try queen f3 check, after king g1, there is no time to play e3, which would win because, well, the bishop is hanging with checkmate. So actually after queen d6, black is completely toast. But he played, for some reason, queen a7. And now the evaluation has gone from +4 to white to +7 for black, because it evaluates my queen in with check. And the problem is, now in a lot of lines white can allow the queen in with check, because white's threats are too much, but in this position white actually isn't threatening if in this position. There's no threat, so he's played e3 and bang, game over. What a swindle. And in fact, after he played queen takes b6, and now white he's now 3 pawns up, but I have a forced mate in 4 moves. And in the previous 2 games I'd missed mates, like I'd allowed my opponent to do one and missed one myself, but this time I didn't see it. I played queen takes f2, king h1, queen takes f1, king h2, and then sack the bishop for a nice checkmate. So that was a massive swindle. That's a game I certainly did not deserve to win, but it shows the dynamism of the Leningrad Dutch. It can be too much for even strong players. I hope you enjoyed this game and video, and stay tuned for round 4. And please leave in the comments some thoughts. Thanks very much.